What's up, guys? It's Applebob here, and today I want to talk to you about justice. But before I can talk to you about justice, I need to talk about injustice. This is when either you are mistreated, someone else is mistreated, or maybe an entire group of people is mistreated. Think about how people who are homosexual are treated, or black, or Latino, all of these people who are abused by people who are quote-unquote more powerful than they, and abusing them because they're seen as less than. This is injustice. And the opposite of that is justice. And in Code Geass, we see justice not as equated to quote-unquote peace. That is the goal. But in Code Geass, justice is seen as a path towards this peace. But in order to be more clear, I want to talk about two different definitions of justice. And these two definitions of justice coincide with two different characters in Code Geass. Actually, I would argue the main characters. Lelouch, who is the son of the Emperor, and Suzaku, who is the son of a Japanese family, which has been renamed to Area 11. How ironic that they are friends. Going on to the definitions, the first definition I want to talk about is the quality of being fair and reasonable. Now, this is the definition that gets to the essence of goodness, rather than that goodness being defined by some entity such as the government. The quality of being fair and reasonable suits Lelouch, because he doesn't see the Britannia as a good government or a just government. He sees it as being wrong, and he wants to enforce his ideals of goodness onto the world rather than merely accepting what Britannia has to offer. Whereas the other definition, which is the administration of the law or authority in maintaining this, suits Suzaku. Now, this fits Suzaku because he is on the side of the government. He wants to make sure that what the government sets is a standard that is followed. Now, let me ask you a question. Which path of justice is more effective in achieving peace? Staying within the system or trying to dismantle it? Now, if you try to stay within the system, there are a lot of benefits to this, and Suzaku does this throughout the anime. That if you just merely obey what Britannia has to say, then you don't have to worry about the pain and the suffering of war that comes by resistance. Now, one of the biggest reasons that he believes this is because his father was actually killed. But it wasn't by the hand of a Britannian soldier, it was by the hand of his own son, Suzaku himself. It's a very tragic story. Suzaku thought if he could kill his father, who was resisting the government, then maybe things would go away, things would become more peaceful. But that's not what happened. As soon as he plunged that knife into his father, the war and the pain continued. So that taught him that resistance is futile, and he wanted to join the government's military and fight alongside of them to show everyone else that resistance is futile, because it didn't work out for him. Now, let's take a look at the other side, trying to dismantle the government. This is what Lelouch tries to do. While governments are established to maintain order, those in charge may make decisions to harm people, which can cause chaos. Bad governments need to be taken down, right? Rather than followed. This is sort of the idea that Lelouch has. And thanks to his power, called the Geass, he is able to command anyone to do anything that he says, and they have no choice but to obey. He uses this power to turn a ragtag group of criminals into the Black Knights, which are, by the end of the anime, regarded as these incredible heroes, these people who are fighting for justice. Now, since Lelouch is behind this, you would think that his whole MO, his whole life, everything that he thinks about has to do with justice. You think that Suzaku is on the side of the government so that people will follow him, so that everyone can follow the path of justice. Well, I don't think that's actually the case. It might seem like Code Geass is about justice, but it's actually about something entirely different. It's about their personal motivations. You know, for Lelouch, it's his love for his sister. He would do anything it takes to create a better world for his little sister to grow up in. No matter what it takes, he'll do it. In Suzaku, he wants to face atonement for his sin of killing his father. He can't bear the grief that he would have taken his own father's life for a better world. And then what's crazy about that is that nothing changed after he killed his father. Nothing at all. Realizing that resistance is futile, it kind of leads him to feel like there's no more use for his life. Like, what's the point of me being here if I killed my father and I tried to have peace? I tried to see all of these things and none of it works. None of it worked. Lelouch is seeing the same destruction of his world, the same abuse, the same injustice going on all around him, and he wants to forcibly, by his own hand, make things right. These are very personal reasons for justice. Justice has become just a mask in these two men's lives. Their path of justice are very different. The end goal is the same, but really what drives them is their own personal reasons. And I see this the most at the conversation in the shrine, on season 2, episode 17, when Suzaku and Lelouch have a conversation at the shrine. We see that, justice is just a mask that covers their true intentions. I want to start by talking about Lelouch here. His path has made him lose so much. His father betrayed him. He loses Shirley. He loses Euphemia. He temporarily lost Cece. She lost her memory. And in the very end, Callan didn't understand his silence. She didn't know that he actually did care at least somewhat about her. She just didn't understand. The Black Knights betrayed him. His own sister, in the end, even betrays him. He had to lie to people to keep them out. Because ultimately, Lelouch was for love. He did everything he did for love. Even when he's about to die, he says this.
Hey Suzaku, Geass power is similar to a wish, don't you think? It's a request to someone to give you the power to achieve what you can't on your own.
Lelouch had to fool the Black Knights into believing that he wanted to destroy the Britannian Empire. If he just followed his birthright, he could have been able to, eventually become the emperor. But he didn't want to do it the traditional way. He couldn't. He needed to have a reputation for justice under the mask of Zero. Literally, the entire representation of Zero is a mask of justice. He pretends to be a hero when really he is a fighter for love, for Nunnally, so that he can make the world into a better place. And is this necessarily justice? I don't think so. Because if it was for justice, at the end of season 1, he wouldn't have abandoned the Black Knights. Because the Black Knights, they really are a representation of justice. Utterly. They are all about creating rights for the Japanese people and getting rid of this shameful name, 11. That's what they're about. Lelouch wouldn't have abandoned them if he was about justice. He wanted to make sure that his sister Nunnally was okay. That's been his motivation this entire time. So, now let's talk about Suzaku and his mask of justice.
Suzaku, do something! You're going to die! Better that than breaking the rules!
Justice is masking atonement for him. He feels like after killing his father, realizing that resistance is futile, he's ready to die. And let's look at this scene in which he expresses this in the conversation at the shrine.
Lelouch, you will answer me! Why did you use your Geass on me to make me want to live? Why? The Geass you used on me that drives me to live has corrupted my convictions. Why would you put such a curse on me?
I only did it because I wanted to survive.
Suzaku was living to die on the battlefield for justice. Or justice. So let's look at one more scene from this shrine conversation, because I think it's really, really important sharing how they actually change gears. Okay? Lelouch and Suzaku, in the beginning of this series, are going for the same goal, which is peace, but these two very different paths of justice. One is trying to destroy the government for what it is, and the other is trying to be a part of it, trying to uphold the rules that the government has. But this is the turning point. This is when both Suzaku and Lelouch start walking down the same path.
You're lying, aren't you? Lelouch, there's only one way to redeem yourself for those lies. Turn your falsehoods into the truth. You told the world a lie when you proclaimed that you were a knight for justice. Why don't you live up to that lie by trying to become a true knight for justice? Then you'll have to keep the lie going, to the very end.
But how? How could I do that?
By putting an end to this war. You are Zero. This job, only Zero can do it. It's within your power. Bring peace and happiness to the world. If you do that, I'll save Nunnally.
You will? You'll save her?
But we'll work together. One more time for her sake.
So they have the same goal, which is peace. And the path towards this isn't quote-unquote justice, but honesty. And they have the same reason. It's to protect Nunnally. Suzaku abandons his own desire to die, his own desire to kill himself under the fire of justice and as just a Britannian soldier. And now he wants to live for peace. But not that he really wants to, but it's for Nunnally. And this shouldn't come as a surprise that the Lelouch wants to do whatever it takes for his sister Nunnally. So, in the end, as we know, Lelouch is killed. But he's killed by the symbolic hero of this quote-unquote justice, Zero. But who is Zero? Zero is Suzaku. And this is what Lelouch says as he's dying.
Lelouch!
The punishment for what you've done shall be this, then. You will live on, always wearing that mask, serving as a knight for justice and truth.
Now, how ironic is it for Lelouch to tell Suzaku to live on for peace, to create this better world for Nunnally that Lelouch so desperately wanted to do, but because of all of his actions for this quote-unquote justice, he had to become the enemy of the world, and he had to be killed in order for things to be restored to peace. He had to be killed. Suzaku, the one who desperately wanted to die, is ordered by his best friend to live as the symbolic hero of justice. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button so that you can see more videos like this. I also do manga reactions and reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.